Here in Gabala, the fourth meeting of Azerbaijani and Armenian experts, civil society representatives, is taking place within the framework of their Peace Bridge initiative launched last year in October 2025. After the last meeting, the first leg of the second round, which was in Armenia, in the town Sarkazor. Gabala is hosting the fourth meeting, and I'm today absolutely delighted to have an opportunity to speak to their participant, founding member of this initiative, political analyst from Yerevan, Armenia, Boris Novosadian. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Ron.
Boris, you've been in the business of peace building over the past decades. You've seen many formats, many arrangements, quite often organized by third-party actors. In what particular way this one is different, apart from the fact that it's self-organized and bilateral?
First of all, it is part of a bigger agenda of normalization of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan, which is based already on specific documents. I mean, first of all, the declaration signed on August 8 in Washington, D.C. And the second difference from the previous one is that journalists, representatives of the civil society, of expert community are fully supported by the governments of two countries, and that is why we call this format 1.5. It is not one, which is about officials meeting, and track 2, which is about, let's say, independent civil society and journalists. So it is very interesting combination of the two, and we are very happy that there is possibility to contribute to the peace agenda between Yerevan and Armenia through our ideas, creative initiatives. And I think that although we are using a lot the resources that are provided by our governments, I think that we pay back with interesting ideas, and during the meeting with the assistant of the president of Azerbaijan, Hikmet Ajiyev, we could see that some of our ideas and suggestions are taken with great interest.
I fully understand that Chatham House rules apply and we can't reveal everything. I mean, today my situation is particularly unique. I'm covering and analyzing this development, so I'm wearing my journalistic hat, of which I'm very proud. I'm also wearing my analyst and participant hat, because I'm part of this particular fourth meeting. So my question to you is, in terms of your analysis, bearing in mind the Armenian elections in early June and current sensibilities underpinning Azerbaijani-Armenian peace agenda, what is the key takeaway in terms of the impact of these people, the 40 participants, on the actual thing happening between the two countries?
I think it is great because we do not limit our meetings with Azerbaijani colleagues, but between the meetings with Azerbaijani colleagues, we are actively communicating representatives of our society, different layers. And that is why I think we are contributing to peace project, and we can judge that more and more understanding is among Armenian citizens about the importance of the process. And despite the fact that parliamentary elections in Armenia, they are more focused on internal political things, and I would say that there is certain slow approach by the decision makers to the peace project, because concentration, as I mentioned, on internal political issues. However, our format is still working, and working extensively, preparing ourselves for the post-election processes, where we expect not only consistency, but even speed up of the process. And as far as I know, in Azerbaijan the same is happening, and our colleagues, those 20, including yourself, are also communicating closely the different layers of Azerbaijani society, and it is important that the understanding is being spread. And we understand, of course, that conservative approaches are very strong in our society. Cautiousness is present in our societies. So the change of minds of the people is happening not that fast as we would like, but still I am sure this is a consistent process, and we will gain more supporters in both countries to the peace process in general and to our initiative specifically.
But all the participants here, irrespective of their specific characteristics or background-related elements, are supportive of the peace agenda, the agreements attained back on the 8th of August in Washington. If, in the case of these elections, producing a different result, and Azerbaijani analysts have been very insistent on making sure that we respect Armenia's internal decision. It's a country which defines itself as a democracy, and
at least electoral democracy.
Electoral democracy, and naturally we have to be ready for every eventuality. Bearing in mind that this agenda is agreed between President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan and supported by their government officials, what will happen to this initiative in the case of things not evolving in a way that we expect they will evolve?
First of all, I have to say that, and you mentioned that I'm part of this peace initiative for decades, starting maybe from 1996. So it's 30th year of my engagement. We worked with different governments of Armenia. So we had a lot of obstacles for our work. We had a lot of distrust to our work. So I'm okay with different climate and atmosphere for the peace process. However, if we are understanding that the speed is important, and on the other hand, we understand that there are objective necessities that for every Armenian government will be this decisive factor. But consistency and speed, it depends on who will come to the power and how much this team will be loyal to the peace process. But I think here our role is very important, because if we prepare concrete agendas for the peace process, if we discuss creative ideas, every government would be interested to use it. And that is why it is also important that a part of general discussions that we have in the format 20+20, we need to think about working in thematic clusters. Because if we want to deliver very practical and specific suggestions, this will need expertise in concrete areas, such as economy, such as media, such as environment, such as humanitarian issues. And I see huge potential here among these 20 people to create such thematic clusters, also engaging more people from civil society and expert community of our countries.
Just to make sure we're not distracted from the agenda of this initiative, I would like to ask one more question about what is possible now. We fully understand from what Azerbaijani side is saying, once the elections are over, we will have a greater deal of certainty, and once after that election, after probably 6 months, there will be a referendum. So we understand the peace treaty will not be signed until late 2026. Probably it will be signed in early 2027, if Azerbaijani side continues to insist on what it has been insisting over the past years. What else do you think could happen between now and then to prove to both societies that peace is a good thing? I mean, one of the things about Azerbaijani public was, the Azerbaijan back in October lifted all the restrictions on the transit of cargo to Armenia. And the question there was that we're sending consignments to Armenia, both from Azerbaijan and Azerbaijan acting as a transit country. Has it been appreciated in Armenia? Has it actually proven to Armenian society that having at least limited economic interaction with Azerbaijan is a good thing for society? What has been the impact of those initiatives, and what's likely to happen between now and then?
I will start answering from the last words that you pronounced. The development around our countries show that no sustained formats of economic cooperation are secured forever. So we need to be open to new opportunities, and these new opportunities are given to Armenia and Azerbaijan, first of all, through normalization of connectivity issues and economic cooperation. And this is well understood, I think, by the majority of our societies. The other issue is that when we are talking about peace treaty and when we are talking about peace, these are very much closely connected issues, but these are not the same. So we could have signed paper, but the peace process could go slowly, and the normalizations of relations is not happening. And I think the best example, already classic example, is relations between Soviet Union and Japan. They did not have peace treaty, but there was huge sympathy of the societies of the two countries towards each other and close economic cooperation. So this is also possible if, let's say, the controversies about Armenian constitution will remain as it is now. But I see the commitment from both Yerevan and Baku to continue with peace process, irrespective of the signed papers. That those agreements on economic cooperation, on connectivity, they will stay as part of practical agenda. And this means that we will not be only dependent of the peace agreement, but we will understand and we will live in a different atmosphere and different environment that we had previously. But of course, despite my words about papers, I think that peace agreement is very much important, that I expect anyway constructive and let's say consistent positions of our governments that also peace agreement has to be signed as soon as possible, because it will be very important ground for the other processes that are happening.
Well, I imagine certain things cannot happen without peace. For example, the resumption of diplomatic relations. For Azerbaijan to have an ambassador in Yerevan, or for Armenia to have an ambassador in Baku, we need to have formal diplomatic relations.
Theoretically, this is also possible. And again, I would like to remind this Soviet Union-Japan relations, when there was diplomatic relations but no peace agreement. But of course, it will be more firm and it will be more secured if we will have this paper that fortunately was agreed in Washington.
Do you think direct communication via Southern Armenia is also within the realm of possibilities without formal peace treaty? So imagine in a very phantasmagorical fashion, trip arrangement is being intensified and the infrastructure is there, but the constitutional issue has not been resolved. Do you think will it be possible to have connectivity in place with goods moving in both directions without that peace deal being signed?
Yes, I think this is still possible.
Japan, Russia, Soviet Union example exemplified that particular sensibility.
I think it is of course possible, but again, people will feel more secured and will be more actively and openly using these connectivity opportunities than in the situation when a peace agreement is not signed and verified by the ratified by the parliament.
We have intergovernmental commissions led by deputy prime ministers dealing with delimitation and demarcation. They are regularly meeting. Presidential assistant, the heads of foreign policy.
And they are discussing also connectivity issues
connectivity
in the same format.
Hikmet Hajiev and his Armenian counterpart Armen Grigorian are regularly in touch. And of course, naturally, they're very inextricably connected with this initiative because they're effectively dealing with it from the governments, from the sides of their respective governments. My last question, if I may, going to be beyond this initiative. Early April, just a few days ago, basically 10 days ago probably, Prime Minister Pashinyan was in Moscow and President Putin made reference to the 6th of October agreement. I said something very interesting. He said that, of course, I understand the Karabakh issue is very sensitive. I'm not saying it was a good decision or bad decision to recognize it as part of Azerbaijan. What was the meaning of that message? I remember very vividly, in late October 2022, after Azerbaijan and Armenia agreed on mutual recognition of territorial integrity in line with 1991 Almaty Declaration, Vladimir Putin said that, well, we need to have a deal which will take Karabakh out of it, and the specific characteristics of Karabakh will be taken into account. I don't think it's within the best interest of Armenia, but it's not up to me to say. What is Russia trying to say to the Armenian electorate with this particular message?
I think that despite the occasion for the meeting were, first of all, upcoming Armenian elections, but I think the messages that were sent during this conversation between Putin and Pashinyan were addressed to Azerbaijani society as well. And the message is that without such a powerful guarantor as Russia, nothing is possible in the South Caucasus, that Russia will be always strongly present here, and every parties in bilateral relations like Armenia and Azerbaijan have to take into account this Russian presence. But I think that Russian authorities are looking less and less convincing for both Azerbaijani and Armenian society, and this is one of the reasons why we have now direct negotiations and direct formats of discussing different issues. So I guess that quite clear message by Nikol Pashinyan that we know what we have to do without advices from Moscow. I think this was quite positive contribution to the normalization process between Baku and Yerevan, despite the conversation was on Russian-Armenian issues. But I think they refer to the whole context in our region. And I would like to remind about another important event, I mean a visit of Ilham Aliyev to Tbilisi. Although this was about Azerbaijan and Georgia, but I think we have to look and assess all these processes in the same context. I think something interesting is happening in our region with mostly participation of the countries of this region.
Well, incidentally, Boris, I was there physically myself, covering and analysing that development, and national security and the new reality established in the region were the subjects referred to. I'm so grateful to you. But you're a founding member of this initiative. I'm a mere participant, so you are indispensable because you're crucial. I'm perfectly expendable. I don't know whether we will have another interview on the next occasion when the 5th meeting is taking place, but at least I will have my journalistic hat intact by that time. That is for sure.
As a journalist, you will be, of course, very much interested to visit Armenia, and I would be happy to welcome you there.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you too.